Hello, welcome back to another episode of Initial Impressions. My name is Keely Pommering and I'll be your host today. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you feel more at peace. I want to help you work through any emotional blockages that you might have, different belief systems that aren't serving you. I just want to help you take more control over the way that you feel in your day-to-day life. So I decided to start a series where I share various questions that you can ask yourself on all different topics that you would like to get to know yourself on better. So this week's podcast is going to be on separating who you are from who other people want you to be or wanted you to be or who they think that you are. There's this quote, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I'm who you think I am. And I think that a lot of us kind of live in that bubble where we're always kind of perceiving ourselves through the eyes of how we think other people perceive us. We can be hard on ourselves because we think other people are viewing us in a negative light. And there's also all these expectations that society puts on us, other people put on us, and sometimes it's hard to separate who do I really want to be versus who was I raised to be? Who do I really want to be? Who am I really versus who other people are misinterpreting me as? And when you can kind of define those things for yourself and give yourself that power of knowing exactly who you are, it makes it easier to set boundaries. It makes it easier to understand when other people are projecting things onto you and to not always take in other people's criticism. Sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with you. Frequently, when people are negative to you, it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's about their emotional response, whatever triggers that they may be feeling. Obviously, we still want to be aware and take accountability. That's the point of this too. You're going to be able to see characteristics that maybe you've been embodying that you don't love, that you don't want to continue embodying. Maybe you can understand a little bit why you established that character trait to begin with. Maybe it was something that a learned behavior from childhood. Maybe it's something that kind of snuck up on you, but you want to get a hold on. Doing things like this helps you to bring that awareness to the forefront of your mind. So I wrote out a few questions. We're going to go through those. I'm going to answer them too. And just because I think it's good to give like a framework of how I would answer these questions. And I like to be vulnerable with you guys too, obviously. I did that last week and it seemed like that was actually pretty appreciated. So I'm really grateful for everybody who reached out to me and enjoyed that episode and continued to share some of their answers with me. I love having those kind of conversations with you guys. So I went ahead already and journaled on all of these questions and answered them ahead of time so I could really get to experience answering these questions myself. I think it's important to hold myself accountable. Anything that I recommend to you guys, I've at least tried myself because, I know there's a lot of different tools and things that you can use. It's not going to resonate with everybody. Not every single thing that I share as an option you can do is one that I've loved for myself, but I have seen it work for other people. So I do love to try things on. I love to experiment with my life. I definitely view my life as a big experiment. And so I like to, though, make sure that I'm answering the journal prompts that I challenge other people to answer because I think it's good for me to also be practicing these things. It's actually one of my favorite parts about having this as the career path that I want to have is it's constant accountability because if I'm going to suggest that somebody else reflects in this way, I should absolutely be doing the same. So the first question that I did was, what do other people believe is true about you that is not true? And this was interesting because I kind of had to, in some ways, guess. Sometimes I know other people have said things to me and I've been like, oh, actually, that's not true about me. Or sometimes you can just kind of perceive that people probably think these things about you, maybe by the way that they've talked to you or treated you in the past. And so it was an interesting one to do, actually. So how I answered them was I put on one side, I put lie, which that might kind of sound aggressive. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lie, but a preconceived notion, something that other people thought or have told you or you think people think about you that's not accurate on one side. And then on the other side, I put truth. So for the first one, I put too serious or takes life too seriously because I do feel like some people, see some of this side of me and they think that I'm not also really goofy and playful, and I am actually so silly, and I just I'm honestly a dork actually, but I'm the type of person that really locks into whatever they're doing. So in that sense, I am really serious and I'm intentional, but when I'm locked into this, I'm locked into this, but I am actually a pretty like go with the flow, goofy person. And I don't know that like everybody always sees that because I do take life seriously, but I have fun too. I'm very playful and silly and make a lot of jokes. I'm goofy. And then I would say that some people think that I am too impulsive in my decision making, or I just like change fast. I just change what I'm doing really frequently. And some people say that they think that maybe I'm too impulsive. But I don't really consider it impulsivity because I do think I sometimes make impulsive decisions, but it's actually just that I feel like I think really fast. It doesn't feel impulsive, honestly, because it does feel well thought out. It's actually ironic. If I'm making like a small decision, then sometimes it'll take me forever, and I'm like thinking about all these like little things for like something as stupid as like what should I eat today? But if it's like a big like career change, I get the download and I know. Like I think about it and it checks out, and like I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I feel like it's just because I'm really connected to my intuition. So I know what my values are, what matters to me, what boundaries I have. And so it's easy for me to tell, is this in alignment or not? Is this in alignment or not? And so I feel like I make a lot of fast decisions. But it's not just like heat of the moment. It's like I'm just fast at knowing what makes sense for me. So I'm not like thoughtless, which I think some people might think because I move so quickly sometimes that maybe there's like less thought there, but I just think fast. Another one that I put is that I'm confident all the time, and I'm not confident all the time. A lot of the times I have to like coach myself into like believing that I can do something or that I'm worthy of something. I have to remind myself what I've done in the past, what I'm therefore capable to do in the future. So I'm not confident all the time. I just like see life in this way where I know that if I am not willing to like go all in, then I'm not going to get all in results. And I'm just like unwilling to not get all in results. So I just choose to like push myself out there, but it's not like I'm comfortable all the time doing it. I just like make that shit happen, you know? I just like, go for it. Because I also have talked about this on the podcast before too. Like, how am I going to find people who like me for me if I'm not being me? So even if I'm not confident, I don't want people to like me because I'm somebody else and miss out on the opportunity of somebody liking me because I'm who I am. So I don't always feel confident about who I am, but I just don't want to be liked for the wrong reasons. So I'm just like, I'm just going to be me all the way, and whoever I connect with, I connect with. And I've had people tell me too that I romanticize life too much, which I'm like, boo, boring. Like, it's life. I'm going to make it as real as possible. Like, I'm going to enjoy it as much as possible. And I don't think that's like me being unrealistic, because people have like, that goes along with the romanticism things. Like, some people think I'm too positive. But I feel like being positive is like actually the most realistic thing to do if you have goals, because when you're negative, it cuts you off from possibilities and new thought patterns, and it keeps you in like a negative feedback loop. And I want my brain to be wired to see opportunities, and I feel like that's the most logical thing to do. So I tend to appreciate things a lot, and I tend to like believe that everything is working out for me, even if like it doesn't look like it at all, because I'm also a survivor. Like, my life was so crazy growing up with my parents' addiction and like everything that goes along with that I just have shown myself that I'm an overcomer. So I'm positive, but that's because I know I can survive anything. Like, what's life gonna throw at me? I haven't been through. And if it does, then like, I hadn't gone through that stuff when I went through it, and I survived, so I will survive again, and I will learn everything I need to learn. So I just like believe in my capabilities, and so I just feel positive about life. I'm also experimenting. So like, I can romanticize my life a lot, but it's not because I'm not logical. It's because I'm trying to experiment with the idea that faith and love and courage produces the best experience of life, as opposed to fear and doubt and like paralysis. I've seen what happens when you're filled with fear and doubt and you don't live in alignment. I've seen the results of that. I did not like that. I don't like what negative or overly realistic thought patterns produces for people. So therefore, I'm experimenting with the opposite of that. And I will romanticize my life, but it's not an illogical approach. I think it's actually pretty logical. If I've seen what happens when you do the opposite, why wouldn't you try it a different way? You know what I mean? Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I think the most realistic thing to do is try something new. So I'm trying on love and gratitude and faith and trust that everything is always working out for me. And I don't always feel that way, but I try to remind myself of it as much as I can and convince myself to think that way, because it's in those moments that I feel the most hope. And there's no way that feeling hope is a negative thing when it feels so good and it produces thought patterns that help you to find better results. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, the next one I did was, who did your family want you to be growing up? And this was really interesting because I realized a lot of the time I kind of felt like, and I'm sure many people feel like this, where you're kind of put inside of a box by your family a little bit. And now I can appreciate for sure a lot of the ways they wanted me to think and a lot of things they pushed me towards, because it allowed me to experience a part of the world and spirituality that I probably wouldn't have understood so well now as an adult if I wouldn't have been exposed to those things as a kid. And I think it's definitely taught me a lot about who I want to be separate from that. I would say the main thing that I feel like my family wanted me to be growing up was religious. And I feel like the God that I connected to when I was a kid is the same God I feel connected to now. It's just that I don't go about it in the same ways that I was raised to. And I'm sure, my family probably thinks, I know they think it would be better if I was doing it in the way that they do it, but that's just like not who I am. And I don't feel like that's the way that my purpose is set for me to live. And I think that I'm meant to experience God mostly through nature and through my connections with other people, through pain and suffering and love and joy. And I feel like I'm just supposed to be like in the world. And I don't think that, I'm not saying those things are bad for people who do like religious practices. I think it can be a really good thing. But for me, I felt like it was a little bit stifling because I didn't believe that God had so many issues with the way that I live my life that the people around me thought were issues. And so there was times that I, kind of got bullied because of the way I dressed. And I knew my family wanted me to be modest, but I just don't really view modesty the same way. Growing up, modesty was wear a bunch of clothes, but I just don't really believe in over-sexualizing the body. And I also don't believe in villainizing sexuality. So if someone is being sexual in nature by being revealing with their clothing, I don't believe in villainizing that. I don't think that a body should be over-sexualized just because it's revealed. Not everything has to be inherently sexual. Things can be contextual as well. I feel like bodies can be artistic. So I feel like my expression with myself is more of an artistic approach than it is meant to be inherently sexual. And that might sound kind of weird to some people. It definitely was not really how I was raised to be, for sure. But whatever is what it is. I feel like I was also raised to be not argumentative, not to ask too many questions. There were people in my family who would be stop asking why, just do what I said. And I really do not resonate with that at all. When I have kids, I definitely intend to oh, yeah, because of this. And then they ask why again, because of that, because of that, because of that. We can just keep going. I'm going to explain it to you because For me, the way that my brain worked is I wasn't trying to be rebellious. I was trying to understand, because I'm not the type of person who likes to blindly follow things. I like to do things because of my own personal conviction. And so if you can explain it to me and it makes sense, I'm with it. You're never going to have to explain it to me again. In fact, you probably won't even have to tell me to do it again. I'll do it on my own as long as I understand why. And so I would get really frustrated with that. Like, just tell me the reason and I'll do it on my own, you know? So I like to ask why, but I think like as I've gotten older, what I understand more about myself is I literally just like to understand all the intricacies of life, why people think the way they do, believe the things they do. That's something that's important to me. And so I'm not afraid to shake things up. I'm not afraid to challenge people or question things. And I was definitely raised to not shake the boat. And I am not afraid to shake the boat. Societal norms are like so lame to me. I just don't believe in not doing something or doing something just because other people tell you that's what you should be doing when you don't know why and they don't know why, and or you don't agree with why. Like, then why? Why would I be doing that? It's just so stupid to me. So I'm very not afraid to be doing something that other people think is wrong, even if they can't tell you why they think it's wrong. So yeah. But yeah, there's other good things too, though. Like, I was definitely raised to be resilient and to persevere and to just like be a fighter. Like, I'm a survivor for sure. Like, I can endure and I can make it through. And I think if I hadn't been exposed to like so much spirituality, I don't think I could understand the way that religious people think. So I can empathize with it. And I think it also helps me a lot in understanding how other religions work and how our connection with each other's work and our connection with the world, the universe, the ground that we walk on, the earth, the way that frequencies and all of it intertwine, and there being something greater outside of myself, a connection bigger than me. I don't think I could fully understand that if I wasn't raised to be so religious. So there was a lot of things that I had to change when I grew up. I would say that I am probably the black sheep of my family. I definitely live the most eccentrically, but I love my life and I love who I am. And it took a few years to kind of break away from who they wanted me to be. But I mean, now it's kind of take me or leave me, you know? If you don't like it, then I don't have to come around. But I will say this, my family has been pretty cool about it. So even though I think like if I straight up asked them if they would like condone some of the things I do, I'm sure they would say no. But nobody says anything. So there's that. The next question that I did was, how many versions of yourself do you frequently portray? And this is not a bad thing. I do want to start by saying, I think when you can live in integrity and have multiple versions of yourself that exist in the world, first of all, every single person knows a different version of you than the other person. So there's already a million versions, but like that you feel like you actively portray. When I'm at work and I'm selling wedding dresses, I'm acting different than when I go out to the club and I'm with my girls. That's okay. That's not a bad thing. But do you feel good about who you are in each of these facets of your life? What characteristics do you notice come out in different areas? And if you find an area in which you don't like the characteristics that you're seeing, then that is a sign that this situation that you're in, where these characteristics that come out and you don't like them exist, then that situation needs to be eliminated as much as possible, because you don't want to be in circumstances that a part of you comes out that you don't like. Or you can change that characteristic in that setting. But if it's too hard to change the characteristic in that setting, then sometimes removing yourself is ideal, at least until you get a better grasp on maintaining new characteristics. Hopefully all of that was not too wordy and you understood what I meant, but it's okay to code. It's okay to be professional here and goofy here and this there. Like, these things are all you. You're a multifaceted human. But for example, a situation in which I didn't really like that version of myself was when I was drinking a lot. I do not really like who I am when I'm drunk. I talk way too much, share way too many personal details about my life. Why? Why am I doing that? So, and then the next morning I would just be like, that's embarrassing. Even if people didn't care, I was like, why did I tell these people these things? I'm a pretty open person, but get me drunk and I'm a little too open. And I just wouldn't always like that. And it's just like, that was the wrong person to tell this information to. And you just kind of feel gross and icky. At least I would. So I didn't really like the version of myself when I was drunk. I felt like I wasn't as intentional, I wasn't as thoughtful, and so I eliminated the situation in which I was drunk, and I just don't get drunk anymore. I think the last time I was like drunk was my birthday, and that was no bueno. So I don't think I'm going to get drunk again. I'm like a big person on like not making things so difficult to follow. So I haven't banned myself from drinking because I think this may not be for everybody, but for me, when I just try to tell myself, oh, you can never do this, then it just makes me want to do it kind of. Like it makes me feel like I'm trapped. And so instead, I'm like, I don't like doing this, so I'm not going to do it most of the time. And if I do think about doing it, I ask myself questions like, are you okay with the people that you're around? Would you feel comfortable if you got drunk and, you started sharing like too many details? Do you feel comfortable with the people you're around? Is it okay if like with this group of people, if this side of you comes out, are you going to be comfortable with that? Are you going to be okay with that? Are you going to feel embarrassed the next day? Or are you going to be like, these are my people, it's fine? Are you going to feel like, you are making a good decision? Does it feel like you're doing it for the right reasons? And even still, I don't ever intend to actually get drunk anymore. It's just like I've had things sneak up on me. Randomly, I had like 3 or 4 glasses of wine a few months ago, and I was like lit, hammered. And I did not intend to get hammered because it was only 3 or 4 glasses of wine. I thought I was fine, and I was indeed not. And I don't want to put myself in a position to where I'm beating myself up so much for when I make those decisions. So I just try to make realistic goals around like boundaries. You just make boundaries. Life doesn't have to be so black and white. It doesn't have to be so complicated. It's just, it has to make sense. I'm doing this because I like doing it. I'm not drinking because I don't like doing it. And it's not because of some rule or because I think I have to. It's just because I enjoy being sober more. So it's simple. That's just like one characteristic. I don't want to like talk way too much on every single one of these questions because this podcast is going to be like so long. But it's so easy for me to get chatting when I'm answering this stuff. Then the next question was, what do people commonly misunderstand about me? And this was kind of similar to like what do people believe is true about you but isn't true? I think something that people sometimes misunderstand is I'm very focused on myself. I'm very focused on what I need to do to improve, on my goals, on doing things that are going to help me grow and succeed in life. And I'm not frequently willing to sacrifice things for other people. And I think other people sometimes view that as me being selfish or thinking that other people are supposed to sacrifice for me, but I won't sacrifice for them. But it's really not that. It's just that I think everybody should be living the way I'm living. Like, I think that everybody should be putting themselves first. Just like when you're in the airplane and they tell you, put your breathing mask on first so you can help other people. It's not like I don't want to help other people. It's just that I'm not going to sacrifice my peace to do so. And I think that's how we should all live. So I don't think you should sacrifice for me, and I don't think I should sacrifice for you. I think that we should both take care of ourselves and enjoy how good we feel together in knowing that we both meet our own needs separately. And that's just my perspective on life. And so I really appreciate when other people do understand that about me and they know I'm not saying I'm the only one that matters. I'm just saying everyone should prioritize themselves first. And so sometimes I think that's misunderstood about me. Even in my family, I think that was misunderstood about me for a little bit. But I hope that most people understand that now. I don't think that I'm like more important than anyone else. I just think that we all should prioritize ourselves. Then the last one was, what characteristics do I embody most often / want to embody? And in all settings. So I had a question earlier that was about the different versions of yourself. But I feel like there should be a couple core characteristics that you want to embody in every single setting that you're in. And for me, those would be kindness, encouragement, loving, compassionate, patient, honest, intentional, self-respect, grace. I feel like those are the characteristics that are most important to me. That like ideally I would want to embody those no matter where I'm at, who I'm talking to, what I'm doing. I would like to have those characteristics. So all of these questions are meant to help you understand who you want to be, who you are, how you show up in the world, what values you have around those things, so that way you can set up boundaries that protect your peace, that help you to feel more confident about who exactly it is that you are, because you feel grounded you're making a decision about who you are. Your characteristics are just habits. They're habits of thought. They're just different actions that you're taking. So my call to action for you this week would be, think about these characteristic traits that you want to embody. If there is a characteristic that you don't feel like you actively possess, or you'd like to possess it more often, you want to embody it more often, then I want you to think about people who possess this characteristic. What do they do to encourage that? So let's say, for example, if you want to have more self-respect, what do people that have a lot of self-respect do? They have boundaries. So then you need to go and set boundaries. What do people who have a lot of self-awareness do? They journal, they meditate, they reflect. So if you want to have self-awareness, set up a schedule to incorporate more things that would promote self-awareness. So you have to set up habits in order to build characteristics and to incorporate them as a part of who you are on a regular basis. If you have negative characteristics, you can do the same thing by picking that opposite. So like me personally, I struggle a lot with being cluttered. I'm not very organized. So when I want to work on being organized, I try to set up habits. What does an organized person do? So if there's negative characteristics you want to get rid of, find their opposing characteristic and ask what those people do. Trying to break a characteristic is way harder than building a new one to take its spot. So these are my tips for this week. These are the questions that I think you should ask yourself. I actually had a lot of fun journaling on this. It was really cool to sit there and just get to know yourself better. I'm hoping that throughout the next few weeks, when I'm doing more of these reflective episodes, that each one teaches you something about yourself and that you feel stronger in who you are and who you want to be in this world. So as always, I hope you are leaving more at peace than you came. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with somebody you think that it could benefit, and I hope you all have an amazing week.